Uduak's body was found by some farmers returning from their farm and was taken to her father's compound. Alas, when they checked her, she was not breathing. Uduak was dead. Some hours later, Uduak opened her eyes and realized that she was in a very dark room. She tried to stand up, but then felt a sharp pain on her knee and on her head. The pain on her head was intense. Slowly, she was able to adjust her vision to her environment and realized that it was not a familiar place.
Welcome to Iyagba's Epic Tales.
Once upon a time, in a certain village called Ikotifiok, a group of people had just returned from burying a loved one. Some were seen crying uncontrollably, and the others seen consoling those that were crying. The mourning family was the family of Chief Ubong. It was Mrs. Ubong, who had just died and had just been buried. Mr. Ubong stared into the air and had said nothing all through the process of the burial of his late wife that morning. His friends, his age grades, were seen around him, trying to console him and telling him to be strong. Chief Ubong had lost his elder and only brother 7 months earlier as a result of a poisonous snake bite, and now he has just lost his wife as a result of just a minor headache she had complained of 2 days before suddenly dying. Well, it is not just the family of Chief Ubong who have been in mourning. Recently, over the last 24 months, there has been so much death records in Ikotifiok. People were dying suddenly, some due to sudden sickness or accidents. When these strange deaths began, the people of Ikotifiok cried to their king, who then called on the chief priest to find out from the gods the cause of the strange deaths. After several consultations and offering of sacrifices of goats and hens, the chief priest told them that the gods said that the deaths were natural and that it was the time of the people who had died to return back to their ancestors. But why would the god choose to call so much people back to heaven at once in such short time? The people of Ikotifiok wondered. And why is it that the gods have chosen to call both the aged and the young, if that was the case and the reason for the sudden deaths? Is it not only the aged and elderly that should go join their ancestors? All these were the questions in the hearts of the people, but they got no answer to their questions, because the strange deaths also took much young people. Take heart, my brother. May these strange deaths not know your household again, one of Chief Ubong's friends said, consoling him. Ensure that you do not send your children out anyhow this period, and make sure that they eat only healthy meals, so we can avoid any channel through which the strange deaths may want to find its way into your home again, Chief Okon, another of Chief Ubong's friend, told him. Chief Ubong has 2 children, Uduak the first and a girl, and Inemesit the second, last child, and a boy. Uduak was 21 years old and much older than her younger brother Inemesit, who is only 14 years old. Uduak has been unconsolable since her mother's death. She had cried so much and now feels exhausted on this day that her mother was being laid to rest, as she now realized that she must be strong for her younger brother and for her father. One day, Uduak was returning from the market where she had gone to buy foodstuffs that they would be needing in the house in the coming weeks. This is 4 months after the death of her mother. Since there was still time before it was noon when she would prepare the evening meal for that day, Uduak decided to go see her new friend, Dr. Anyekan. Dr. Anyekan was the grandson of an old woman called Ene. Ene and Uduak's grandmother were best friends during their time and are also both late now. Dr. Anyekan's father, who was Ene's son, was lucky to get a scholarship to go study abroad many years ago. He only visited his village few times and when his mother passed on. but his son Anyekan, who is now a medical doctor, has decided to come build a medical center in Ikotifiok since there was none, and he was going to do so with the support of the government. But before the project would begin, Dr. Anyekan chose to stay in the village for some time because he had been away for so long and wants to get to know his home of origin better. It was during this period he got to know Uduak and they became good friends also. He felt bad and sorry for Uduak when she lost her mother and had only seen her last on the day her mother was buried. He had gone to pay her a visit several times after that day, but he could barely speak with her as her father, Chief Ubong, was being careful and would not allow his children to stay or go out of their house for more than 5 minutes. After a long while, Chief Ubong finally allowed Uduak to step out of their house because they needed to go get some things from the market, as they could no longer depend on friends and families to keep helping them with the things they needed to buy. And so, Uduak, who was returning from the market that day, decided to say hello to Dr. Anyekan for his kind gesture of checking up on her all this while. She saw him briefly and rendered her thanks, as she never planned to stay more than 5 minutes. After saying her thank you, she headed back home, but then decided to take a different route from the popular one because it was shorter and quicker. As she walked through the route, Uduak had an unusual feeling because the route was most times empty, unlike the major one which was always busy with people. She hastened her steps as she walked, but then, without seeing a huge stone which was lying in front of her, Uduak hit the stone and fell down. And as she fell, she hit her head on a log of wood which was lying not far from where she had fallen, and then she went unconscious. Uduak's body was found by some farmers returning from their farm and was taken to her father's compound. Alas, when they checked her, she was not breathing. Uduak was dead. Chief Ubong was shattered. Being a young girl and the third person the family was losing within a short period, the friends and family wanted to bury Uduak immediately. But Chief Ubong, out of shock, refused to utter a word after seeing his daughter's lifeless body. And so, they could not go ahead to bury Uduak because her father needs to give them the permission to go ahead. It was dark already and Chief Ubong was yet to say anything nor give them the go-ahead to bury Uduak. The people decided to take Uduak's body to the mortuary in the village, pending when her father would be willing to speak. The mortuary is owned and run by a middle-aged man called Etido. Many years ago, it was Etido's father who owned and ran the mortuary, and Etido inherited it after his father passed on. It was the only thing and only business his father had, and so the only thing Etido inherited from his father. Dr. Anyekan heard the news of Uduak's death late. Immediately he heard it, he rushed to Uduak's house and was told that they had just left with her body so they could put it in the mortuary. Dr. Anyekan ran as fast as he could to the mortuary so he could catch up with the people who was taking her there, as he could not bring himself to believe that Uduak, whom he had just seen and spoken to a few hours ago, would just die like that from just a fall. He wanted to see her and be sure that it was all a dream. When he got to the mortuary, he saw the people who had taken Uduak's body coming out from the building with Etido. He begged that they allow him see Uduak's body, but Etido refused to. The people left, but Dr. Anyekan remained there. He waited at the mortuary. He spoke to Etido, telling him that he is a medical doctor and wishes to take a look at Uduak to be sure that she had not truly died. However, Etido would still not allow him to. It was Etido's rule that a family is not allowed to see their dead loved one until the day of burial once the body has been brought to his morgue. And more so, not Dr. Anyekan, who isn't even related to Uduak. Dr. Anyekan pleaded and pleaded with Etido, but he would not change his mind. And so, Dr. Anyekan went back home that evening. Some hours later, Uduak opened her eyes and realized that she was in a very dark room. She tried to stand up, but then felt a sharp pain on her knee and on her head. The pain on her head was intense. Slowly, she was able to adjust her vision to her environment and realized that it was not a familiar place. Where is this place? And why is she not in her room? Uduak wondered. Then, she recalled that the last thing she remembers is that she was returning from the market and later from Dr. Anyekan's place. Uduak called out to her younger brother and her father. Inemesit, father, where are you two? Where am I? But there was no response. Everywhere was still. She called out again, uttering the same words as she did earlier. Still, there was no response. Just then, she heard the sound of the door and it gently opened. A man came in carrying a lamp. The man told her to stop shouting and calling for her father and her brother, as nobody would hear her because she was dead to the world. Uduak was confused. What does he mean when he said that she is dead to the world? Uduak's eyes slowly got adjusted to the light from the lamp, and then she recognized the face of the man who had come in and had spoken to her. Can you guess who the man is? Was Uduak truly dead, or is she just a ghost? How come Uduak, who was dead, was awoken? Would she need to be saved? What do you think? I would love to know in the comment section. Watch out for our next video for the concluding parts. Thank you for watching and see you in our next video. Bye.